Afternoon, everyone. We'll just wait until we have a few more people here. Also, just waiting for David, who's going to be presenting as well.
Emmy, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you, David. Can you hear
Very
me?
good. Yeah, sorry, it's a little bit of a lag this side on the call, so sorry.
Oh, no, don't worry at all. Thanks for joining. Just going to
No
wait another minute just so we can let the numbers jump up a bit. Okay, perfect. We will make a start and let anyone else join as they come. Welcome everyone to our 7th Change Control webinar. We are having CR54 presented to us today by David Yeoman, who's on the call. We have Cam on the call from PVC supporting with the Q&A. Cam's having a couple of issues with her sound, so I'm going to manage the Q&A. So if anything's slightly faltering, that's why. There's nothing bad going on. As always, this is the purpose of this webinar is to understand the content of this specific change request, and this is a broadcast rather than a discussion forum per se. So if we could keep all questions in the Slido if possible. If you have any issues with Slido access, just pop them in the chat. This just allows us to record all the questions, as I will share a Q&A document afterwards. Cam should have put the Slido in the chat now. And as always, we will share the Q&A after keeping it open until the end of the day. I think that's all of my admin bits covered. So as usual, we have the presentation of the Q&A, of the change request, and then we move into the Q&A afterwards. You can submit questions at any time. We'll address them at the end. So I will hand over to David to present CR54, which is a change to non-functional requirements for LDSOs.
Okay, thank you, Emmy. Can you hear me all okay? Yeah, all good?
All good, thank you.
Very good. Okay, so this change request is sponsored by UK Power Networks, but raised on behalf of all LDSOs because we're all in the same position here. So we recognise collectively the importance of valid and fit for purpose non-functional requirements and testing. But in the same breath, we've, following various workshops, discussions, and sort of conversations with LDSOs, the programme, and other parties, it has been acknowledged that some of the non-functional requirements are simply incorrect. Examples being parameters, metrics, and thresholds that simply can't be met. So that dialogue, I think, is sort of it has passed, and the output of that dialogue was a suggestion by the programme to raise a CR to address it, and this is what we're doing. It's broken up into sort of various components. The first item is there is reference in the non-functional catalogue to all services. We just believe there's additional clarity required there because it's a little bit unclear and confusing. We've agreed potential change with the programme that terminology should be updated to say all services by market role. So that's a bit of an admin tidy up within the various documents. In terms of sort of material changes to the non-functional requirements, broken up into sort of three key areas. For UMSA, which is the unmetered service, there are essentially very few MPANs in the market, certainly when compared to the overall portfolio size. So we're suggesting that based on a party's portfolio coefficient, the NFRs that are listed here are updated to reflect that portfolio coefficient. So essentially a significantly reduced number, expressly calling out that, for example, for UKPN, we have around 7,000 UMSO MPANs. So it would be pretty pointless to try and test based on a significantly higher number as if, for example, the metered MPANs. So that's the first change, and it impacts those requirements listed. For GWOS billing, we're asking that various interfaces or reports are removed from scope and specific NFR requirements. This is because GWOS billing does not receive any messages as a result of an MPAN switch or a migration event, and therefore the volumetric requirements of the given requirements there simply don't apply. So they're kind of not relevant. And then the final one is 3 specific requirements that we'd like just some admin updates to, if you like. It's to clarify that for end-to-end requirement 1004, simply state that each participant's individual MPAN portfolio coefficient should be applied. For end-to-end 1005, update the metrics entirely, as currently these metrics include all electricity and gas metering points in the market. Obviously, gas is irrelevant, so that skews all of the other calculations and metrics. We just need the electricity MPANs, and then we've got the right number. And then clarification that end-to-end requirement 1007 is in fact superseded now by the more recently added end-to-end 1011. So essentially remove the requirement 1007 and identify the fact that this is now 1011 and update documents as such. That's the brief description of the various changes. We believe that this is predominantly a sort of an admin-based CR to correct essentially, incorrect metrics. There will be an impact to sort of test case artifacts and various other artifacts, but we don't believe it materially impacts any other parties in terms of any design or build change they would need to do. But again, that's what the CR is calling out. If anyone wishes to challenge that, that's what this CR is for. In terms of timeline, we would really need this to be implemented, and I'm using the word implemented here. It's more agreed and in place, shall we say. There's nothing as such to implement in terms of a design here, but ahead of M10, but specifically really for us before the completion of our non-functional pit testing on the 30th of September. Otherwise, if we don't get this agreed and in place, we risk essentially not being compliant, because the LDSO stance currently, as agreed with the programme, is we'll proceed on the basis that this CR is approved because it seems to make sense to do so. If that wasn't the case, we could be found to be non-compliant if this CR wasn't agreed by the end of our non-functional pit testing. That is about the long and short of that, Imi, now, I think. So hopefully it's a relatively straightforward one, but happy to take any questions. And as I say, whilst UKPN are sponsoring this CR, it is on behalf of all the LDSOs, so DNOs and IDNOs are all supportive.
Brilliant. Thank you, David, for that overview. Just a quick note on programme timelines before we move into the Q&A. So assuming no huge curveballs are thrown our way in the next 20 minutes, this will go out for impact assessment tomorrow once we've had a chance to wrap up the Q&A. There's a usual 10 working day response period, and that will allow us to get a decision at the next PSG in September. So you can keep an eye out for that. I'll just pause for a couple of minutes, Cam, to let me know there's nothing in Slido at the moment, but we'll just wait for any questions. As I said before, the Slido will remain open until the end of the working day. So if you do have any questions later on today, we will pick those up. Just give it another minute. Okay, assuming no one is furiously typing in the background, we'll wrap up there. Please do submit questions later on today if you have them. Otherwise, you can expect to see this out for an impact assessment tomorrow. Thank you, David, for your presentation. And thanks all for attending.
Thanks, Imi, and thanks, everyone. Cheers. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. Bye-bye. Bye.